Welcome to our podcast. I'm Pete.
And I'm Maureen.
We're the Sonic Boomers. You're grinning.
I am. I'm so excited. I think it's a good thing, you know?
You have no idea how we have been struggling with technical stuff today to get this podcast up and running. And
that too.
I'm running out of fingers to count the number of takes. You know, I'm going on to my...
I was going to take your shoes off into your toes now.
Going on to my toes very soon. I promised on the last edition of the Sonic Boomers that I would share what are the hot names for dogs and cats today.
Okay.
And this is based from the American Kennel Club. And they recommend that names have one or two syllables and no more than that.
Okay.
Because it's easier for the pet, obviously, to memorize. Male dogs: Max, Milo, Cooper, Charlie, Teddy, Tucker, Buddy, Bear, Rocky, and Leo are the top names for male dogs.
Interesting, okay.
And for females, Luna, Bella, Daisy, Lucy, Willow, Penny, Sadie, Maggie, Rosie, and Ruby.
Nice. I like Willow. I think that's a pretty name.
That is a nice name.
If I had another daughter, I might name her Willow.
Yeah, right? You wouldn't want to name your bulldog Willow or something. But, yeah, a nice little foo-foo kind of a dog would be nice.
Oh, if you say so. Yeah. I just think it's a pretty name.
Also, in the latest edition of the AARP magazine, a couple of good articles. First of all, one about cruising is back. It says, Cruise Vacations back bigger and better than ever. That's on page 36. We're going back cruising this year, which is wait. Finally after 3 years or so. It'd be nice to be back out on the water again. Also, there's an article about what they call toggling, which is a lot of us have a cable TV subscription, and now they have found an ingenious way of getting even more money out of your wallet because we have HBO Plus, we have Hulu, we have Paramount Plus, we've got Disney, all of these plus.
Yes.
And the only place that the plus is showing up is in the wallets of the big companies.
True.
Okay, it is not showing up in our wallet. So there's an article.
Except as a deficit.
Yeah, as a deficit. So there's an article, and they tell you how to toggle out of these services. Because sometimes you get these bills, and it's like, when did I order that? Why? And it was because there was like one or two particular shows that you wanted to see.
Right.
And it seemed like, well, I'll just subscribe. It's just another $6 a month or something. And by the time you know it, you're shelling out another $30 or so.
Right.
So if you look in the AARP, there is an article on toggling out of these services.
Makes it nice and easy.
Yeah. So what are we talking about?
Well, I heard a thing on the Today Show about a week ago, and they were talking about maps. And I thought, oh, my ears perked up because I'm a map person.
You are the map girl.
I am the map girl. And, you know, we have satellites and we have GPS, and you don't hear a lot about paper maps anymore. And so it kind of begs the question, are the paper maps extinct? And is there a need for them?
I don't want to say that they're extinct, but I think for the last several years now, they've been on life support.
Well, that may be. But it appears now that for various reasons, which we can talk about, that rather than completely disappearing the paper maps off the radar and stuff because of the GPS, paper maps are now seeing a resurgence. The UK did a survey, and back in 2018, so it's a few years ago, their national mapping service is called the Ordnance Service, and they saw a 7% rise in the purchase of paper maps in the UK. And then they also checked in the US, and it's been up by almost 15%. So that's kind of interesting to me.
It is.
And so, you know, why, you ask yourself why. Why are people now suddenly wanting paper maps?
I can tell you right off the top of my head, one reason why. You may recall a year or two ago, we were up in upper New York State. We were up around the Albany Capital District.
Yes.
And we were going to a town called Queens. which looks like Coeymans when you see it.
Yes.
And I remember walking into the hotel, and I said to the very lovely young lady at the desk, I'm coming in, I'm from New Jersey, and, hi, I'm Toriello, I'm checking in. And she goes, oh, what brings you up to our neck of the woods? I see you're from New Jersey. And I said, well, we're going to Coeymans. And she looked at me like I was talking nuclear fission or
Like
something.
you grew another head.
Yeah. And I looked at her and she's like, where? What? And I said, Coeymans? And she's, oh, Queemans. Queemans. We say it's Queemans. So, okay, we were in Queemans. And we were going to this nice little restaurant on the Hudson River. And when we were coming home, we get in the car and we're pulling out of the parking lot, and the darn navigation goes dead. We lose the signal. Because if you have a cell phone, I don't know if the cell phones work directly off the satellites. I think very often they're tied into the cell phone towers.
Okay.
And if you don't have signal, you don't have navigation. You and I think we're both saying, boy, if only we had a map.
Right.
If we had a map, the map don't fail.
Right. The map would save the day.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think that is a very valid and important reason why maps are now suddenly becoming a little bit more of a necessity or more popular at any rate, or people are acknowledging that, hey, maybe it's not so bad to have a map in your glove compartment.
Fortunately, the signal did come back.
Yes.
But after several minutes, and we were just like driving around hoping to catch a signal somewhere.
And you have to understand, this is after dark.
Yeah.
In a remote part of the state of New York. I mean, it's near Albany, but it wasn't in the city at all.
Queemans.
They were like country roads, very
Yeah.
little lights, and were these winding pathways, through the mountains.
Yeah.
And we're like, uh-oh, we're going to wind up dead. So yes, in that case, a paper map would have been most welcome and most handy. And I think too that people have been so sequestered and so isolated through the pandemic years. And even when they were venturing out, it was very timidly, and they were going to more remote type of places for their vacations, some places where there were not going to be huge crowds, so that they didn't have to worry so much about catching COVID. So where were they going? They were going to campgrounds. They were going to state parks, national forests, things like that, where they're not going to be all clustered together. Well, when you're in those kind of places, like you found out, the cell service, the Wi-Fi doesn't always work so well. And therefore, a map becomes almost like a first aid kit. You want one with you at all times. And I think that's another reason why the maps are starting to see an increase in popularity, because of the destinations that people are choosing.
Plus, the digitalized maps that you get on your phone, on your navigation, they're really designed to do one basic thing: get you from point A to point B the quickest way possible.
Right.
Okay, all well and good, but it's not giving you a lot of local flavor. And it's not helping you relate to the surroundings that you're in. Basically, you're looking at a map covering maybe a quarter-mile stretch, and that map keeps moving, and then it will tell you turn left, turn right. And sometimes they don't even tell you the name of the street. It'll just say, make a right. In 2 miles, make a left. And there's make a left onto what?
Yeah. So it is found lacking, for us anyway.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people. And when you're taking a trip like that, and you're not in a hurry, and you're not like going to work, or you're not trying to make a business appointment where you have to be there on a certain time, if you've got the ability to relax and take a leisurely drive, road map is really a nice tool to have, because like you said, instead of seeing just the 1.3 miles on your computer screen, on your car screen, now you can look at the map. Hopefully you've got somebody in the car with you that can be the navigator. And you look at the map and you see the big picture.
Look, we're 25 miles away from the world's biggest piece of bacon. Let's go see that.
Well, that calls to mind when years ago, we were out in California, and we had gone down to San Diego, to the San Diego Zoo. Why? Because they
wanted to see the koalas.
And they're the only place in the United States at the time that you could see a koala. So we had gone to the zoo. We saw the koalas. And I pull out my map, and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, honey, look, we're only this far. I'm making my fingers to show like about a quarter of an inch. From Mexico. Why don't we go into Mexico, and we'll get a nice dinner and have some mariachi and have a nice and get to go to Mexico.
History will note that these were famous last words. If you've never been to Tijuana, may I offer this word to you? Don't! It's bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to offend people that are from Tijuana or live in Tijuana or live in Mexico, but it's bad.
It's dangerous. It's sleazy. It was scary.
Divorce places on every block, right? Remember all those quickie divorce places down there? Like 2-3 on a block, it seemed. And people just walking everywhere, not paying attention to traffic around them, just walking in the streets.
In front of the car.
And somebody told me that you actually need to take out insurance, which we didn't know.
We didn't. We were young. I mean, we were like in our early 20s.
We were like 22, 23.
Right, when we went out there. And due to some fortuitous events, we had this snazzy Trans Am car.
Yes.
It was the Pontiac Trans Am black with like the gold eagle or whatever, that bird on the Firebird on it.
Big bird on the hood.
On the hood with a spoiler, a very snazzy, racy kind of car. So we go into Mexico, we go into Tijuana, and it's very quickly becomes evident that we're not going to find some little cantina with mariachi guys, and we better get the hell out of there because these guys
Marina's like, where are the Mexicans snoozing under the sombreros? Where are...
I mean, that's what I thought we were going to find.
I will tell you that they are not in Tijuana, and it was just going sideways with every passing mile.
Right. So we decided very quickly. I mean, I don't think we were in Mexico more than 15 minutes.
And that's how we got in trouble.
So we turned around. Now, when we left the United States, it was just like going through a toll booth. Okay, have a nice day.
Yeah.
Coming back into the United States was a different matter. Now, we come back in, and I guess I'm trying to think. They must have given us some kind of like a ticket when we left that told the time of departure, and we had to show that coming back in. And when we came back in, it was only like 15 minutes later. Now here we are, two young people in this hot car, 15 minutes in and out. What does that say to you?
What are these guys coming here to pick up and take back to the United States?
They think we're drug dealers.
Because we look like drug dealers.
Well, what does a drug dealer look like? Who knows anymore?
Even then, we didn't look like drug dealers.
No, but, they were suspicious.
Yeah.
And they pull us over, and they open up the trunk, and they make us get out of the car.
They're
and
going through the seats, under the seats.
And so the customs guy or the border guy says, so may I ask why your trip was so short? And this was one time, and I wasn't turning on the tears like some women do. I was really scared and crying at that point. And I'm like, I just wanted to go for a Mexican meal. And I thought we'd go to a cantina, and we'd have mariachi, and we would have a dinner, and that's all we wanted. And we didn't find that, so we came back. And he's like, oh, okay.
Get out of here.
I think by this point, they hadn't found anything, and I think they looked at me, and they were like, okay, this is she didn't make this up. You know?
Yeah. Just let's let these people go back home.
But anyway, that was my experience with having a map. It's only this far to Mexico.
Huge mistake. Huge mistake.
Maybe that's one time we didn't need to have a map. We wouldn't have tried to go that far. But anyway, that was, one of the things that a map came in handy for. Another time when we were going out to Erie, Pennsylvania for the first time to visit some friends, and we got stuck in a lake effect snowstorm.
If you've never experienced lake effect snowstorm, everybody should experience it once. Everybody should go to Tijuana once just to see what it is. So we're going to Erie, right, and we're going up to see a friend of ours. And I called him the night before, and I'm like, okay, we're coming tomorrow. We're going to be leaving. We should be getting there such and such time. And he says to me, are you sure you want to come? And I'm like, yeah, why don't I want to come? Well, you didn't hear the weather forecast? No. We're going to have a lake effect snowstorm here in Erie. You still want to come? Like, yeah, it's a snowstorm. I've driven in snow before. Now, Pete, this is a lake effect snowstorm. It is Lake Erie. The moisture from Lake Erie rising up, freezing, turning into snow, and dumping, starting about a mile in from the shoreline. And it is a snow-making machine. We're coming.
Well, I don't think he even went into that much detail.
He did on the phone to me. He told me, because it's a snow-making machine.
Right.
And I just wanted to see him so much.
And we underestimated.
And we figured, we've been in snowstorms.
Yeah. And people make a big deal of that.
No. In 24 hours, right, we had about 4 feet of snow. Mm. And it was crazy because we got all the way into within maybe the last half hour, right? Before we got into Erie.
About the last 3 miles.
And it was like dry road, dry road, dry road, dry road. Boom!
Yeah.
And you couldn't see. They were on the radio telling people, get off the road. This is an emergency. Shelters are being set up. If you need a shelter, this is where you should report.
People were in rescue snowmobiles coming down the road. And that was another time when I was darn glad to have a paper map, because I'm sitting there and with the map on my lap, and I'm looking, okay, we're on this road. Well, now this road they're announcing is closing. So look at this. We can go a little bit off and pick up this route, and we'll still be okay. It's going the same direction. Okay, so we go that far. Okay, now that one is starting to get impassable. Well, now I can look and I make a diversion. And we made this zigzag route, and it took us probably 3 hours to go the last 2 miles of the trip, but we finally got into Erie, into our motel, crazy. And we got there.
It was,
but again, without crazy. A map, a paper map, we would not have fared as well. And especially that's something that probably radio announcers ought to think about when they're on giving these kind of emergency things, about people who may be in the area who are not familiar with the local terms and the local roads. They're saying, go to the Lincoln School if you need shelter.
Yeah.
They didn't give the address. They didn't tell you where the Lincoln School was, just somewhere in Erie, and they were saying things like, well, you can take the local road, John Brown Lane to 137, and
see, that's where the digital, if you had it, and back then we didn't even have a cell phone.
No,
you and I, and you didn't have GPS and all that stuff back then.
Right.
So if you have a paper map and they're saying, go to the Lincoln School or go to Our Lady of Perpetual Motion Church on Main Street, it's a lot harder to find on the map. If you had the digital technology, you could just type it in, and it will show you how to get there. Mm-hmm. The problem with the digital technology is you're relying on a signal either from a satellite or you're relying on a signal from the cell phone towers.
Right.
In a heavy snowstorm, it's going to do the same thing that your satellite TV does
right.
in a heavy rain.
Right.
You get rain fade, snow fade. In the summertime, when all the trees are in bloom, you get leaf fade. Mm-hmm. And now where are you?
There's a need for both.
There is.
And if you're smart, you'll have both on you.
Depends on, do you just want point A to point B, get me there quickly? Or do you want something with more local flavor? And do you want something that is even a little on the artistic side? Some of the maps were very pretty.
They actually were. And especially, some of the ones, remember some company did these ones where they would do like a local map, like your town, and they would, I guess the businesses would maybe pay to be included on this map, and they would have like cute drawings and caricatures and things like that of various businesses along the way, and they would be all located on this map, which then became something that you could frame and keep in your house, and it was a conversation piece.
Do gas stations even have maps today?
I don't know.
Because that's where, in our time,
that's where you used to
that's
just ask
where you
for one.
asked for one and they gave it to you for free.
Yeah. Now, I don't know. I haven't looked for one, haven't asked for one. The last place I got some maps were from AAA.
Yeah.
We are members.
If you're a member, you can get free maps at AAA.
Right.
And gas stations, probably not anymore. Or if you go into a bookseller, you might be able to get them. Clearly, you can get them on Amazon because you can get anything on Amazon.
Well, and I think if you go to like a book place like Barnes & Noble or something, but they sell them.
Yeah.
You're not going to get them for free. But regardless, it's worth it. And I think it's kind of like a wise thing to do, that just like you would say, if you're traveling someplace far, you should have like a first aid kit or a road repair kit with flares and stuff in your trunk in case you break down. I think it's probably prudent to say, have a road map in your glove compartment.
As a backup.
If
nothing else.
Nothing else. Maybe, hopefully you never need it. But if you need it, it's there for you. And so I think that's a wise piece of advice.
Before we go, we do want to ask you, we want to urge you, we want to beg you, entreat you to give us a like. And please subscribe to the Sonic Boomers podcast with the bell notification. This way you get a notification every time we drop a new show on you. And that also helps us with the algorithms that they use on YouTube. Which
we magically don't understand.
We don't understand, but it's supposed to be.
We know it's a good thing.
We know it's a good thing. So like and subscribe. And if you want to write to us here at the Sonic Boomers headquarters, you can do that at thesonicboomers@AOL.com. Yes, Maureen and I are the last two people on AOL Mail. So until next time, I'm Pete Torriello.
And I'm Maureen Torriello.
Thank you for listening to the Sonic Boomers. Goodbye.